What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today, I'm going to talk about Not Just a Goof. It's on Disney Plus. It's a documentary, and I saw it. And it doesn't have audio description. Not really sure why, but um, Disney kind of does this. The funny thing is that like so many people praise Disney for their benevolence and audio description, but I look at Disney and I go, but you're still creating new content that doesn't have audio description. Like it's cool that you're going through your back catalog, but it becomes problematic when you still have stuff that's coming in that you're not putting audio description on. That becomes problematic. If the stuff that you're making for Disney Plus is not audio described. And they did that a lot last year. They had a whole bunch of TV shows and adaptations of things. Like the Big City Greens movie didn't have audio description. The Wizards of Waverly Place show didn't have audio description. Ariel Jr. didn't have audio description. Like they're creating new content without audio description, but then they want to get a pat on the back for going back through and adding audio description to older things. And it's like, you have to be able to balance both. Like Netflix, Apple, and all those, they're creating their original content with audio description as it comes in. Like the only place that either one of those two has any sort of gap is in international non-English content. They don't have little flicks of original content that are in the English language that they're not creating audio description for. They're not prioritizing certain products over another. They're just doing it. So this should have audio description if Disney really wants to be competitive in this field, or if they really want to. But Disney likes to look like they draw creativity from diversity, but they don't really. They don't really want that. They they want the air of it without actually having to do the work of it. Part of this is in the pervasive decision to, when they do audio description, how blind people never get ethnicity or race described for characters in shows with intentional casting. So, like, if they really cared about the intentional casting behind shows like Your Friendly Neighborhood, Spider-Man, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians, where they have obviously gone to the trouble of casting against perceived type, then they would want to include that in the audio description so that blind people would be on the same playing field as sighted people, but they don't. So that leads me into an introduction where I haven't even talked about the movie yet because they didn't put audio description on this. So I have to talk about Disney and why they're not so amazing when it comes to audio description. So, Not Just a Goof is a documentary centered around the how a Goofy movie got made. I've heard some people call it the Goofy movie. It's a Goofy movie. Unless we changed it. I remember my childhood. So, it's, Goof Troop? I didn't even have to Google that, by the way. I just know it's a Goofy movie. Um, and, yeah, I grew up on Goof Troop, and I was a 90s kid. I was a late 80s, early 90s kid who never stopped being one. So the things that I picked up in the late 80s and 90s, I've liked forever. And I never stopped enjoying cartoons or the products and stuff from that time period. Like I could sit down and watch Groove Troop right now and it would not bother me at all. I would just look like this old guy watching like Goof Troop and be like, what are you doing? And then I'd like flip on Handmaid's Tale after that and he'd be like, that's a weird follow. And I'd be like, I don't know. I just like both of the shows. Goof Troop, Handmaid's Tale. That's my day. I don't know. So yeah, when a Goofy movie came out, I didn't know like the history behind it or anything about how it came to be. I just remember going to theaters to watch a Goofy movie, and it was sort of early in the in my understanding of film and paying attention to box office and stuff like that. And uh, I remember it wasn't, of course, like you hear about Lion King, right? And the massive box office that it made. And then you hear Goofy movie, and it doesn't make the huge box office. But I never really thought those two movies were on the same playing field. So I never, I would hope that the expectation wasn't the same thing. They didn't even get the same release date. Like Goofy movie didn't open in the middle of the summer in June, like a lot of their other animated uh, triumphs had. Basically, like once we had Lion King, like every year we had a summer movie that opened in June. That was their big summer Disney animation movie. Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Tarzan, Mulan, like all those opened in June, like right at the end of June, all the way up through. Got Lilo and Stitch was a June release. Atlantis. I mean, like that was always their prime spot for a movie. So, um, Goofy opened in the spring, if I'm remembering correctly. It opened in like out of the cycle. So, yeah, the fact that I mean they talk here about how it opened to 7 point something, and it opened against Bad Boys. I think Bad Boys it was either an April or May release. I'm doing this all off of memory of time, the conception of time. So it was up against Tommy Boy. They at one point they mentioned the top three of the box office. It was Bad Boys, Goofy movie, and then Tommy Boy. And I kind of remember that. Like I swear when I went to see Goofy movie, I actually remember that in the theater next to it was Tommy Boy. Like I I actually remember like looking over. They used to have those Mylars that were above the theater, and they had like some sort of like a little representation of the poster. And I remember looking up and being like, Tommy Boy, I'm gonna see that. Or I did see that, you know? Um, yeah, I remember going to the theaters and seeing this and loving it and thinking it was funny and thinking it was great. And I loved everything about it. So getting to see a documentary about how it came to be and how Jeffrey Katzenberg was involved in the production, and all of the different animators who worked on it, and all the shit they had to go through over the years of putting this thing together. And they didn't make their first release date and got pushed back, and Lion King became a priority, and Goofy movie got pushed back, and they were working in Paris, I guess, putting this together for a while. It all just seems kind of crazy, you know. But um, I think they made a great movie, and it's one of the things that this points out is that the critical reception to it was poor. And a lot of times when people look at me and they're like, "Why do you want to be a critic?" It's like when I grew up, I constantly looked at critics and I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, what on earth are you talking about? Because they, critics of yore, of the days of yore, um, really were stick in the muds, you know, when it came to a lot of things. I mean, a lot of things didn't cut the muster, you know. So I remember like film campaigns for movies used to advertise like 3.5 stars, you know, or like their pull quotes would be like it's pretty good, you know, or they'd focus on the actors, like the acting performances, because they weren't getting the kind of quotes they needed for their movies. And they're perfectly fine movies. They're movies that critics weren't willing to just circle around. Yeah, critics hated a Goofy movie. They didn't understand it. But what's funny is that led to sort of audiences not watching it initially upon its release, except for once it was released, it was out there. And it's a great movie. And it's one of those things that when you release it, and set it upon the world, and then people start seeing it and picking up on it, then they actually get into it. And the amount of people who have loved a Goofy movie the last 30 years, um, it's kind of amazing. And there are things that they bring up that I remember. I remember the shot for shot remake of that they did that's on YouTube of I think it's still on YouTube. It's been a while of sort of like the opening of Goofy movie. Um, and Powerline. I swear somebody did the song Eye to Eye on American Idol. I think that's been done on American Idol. I feel like it has been. I don't think I'm crazy. Um, I remember the Atlanta episode and thinking that was amazing. And the whole thing around that they created for a Goofy movie and how it was like Disney's first black animated movie. And then they interview a couple of, well, they don't interview, they just catch a whole bunch of black YouTubers talking about their experiences with Goofy movie and seeing themselves represented in that. And it's sort of this thing that I know they didn't think about it at the time, you know, and it's sort of just come into its own over the years. And there really are people who love a Goofy movie, and they found that out when they had it at D23, and the panel just exploded. Uh, and suddenly they realized, oh shit, wait a minute, this thing's a way bigger hit. Yeah, of course it is. Because home video, because Disney Channel, because Disney XD and ABC Family and all the re-airings that everybody's had over the years. So people have been able to see a Goofy movie and fall in love with it. So that makes, complete and total sense to me. It was directed by Kevin Lima. I should have heard his name pronounced in this. I'm so sorry. And he would go on to work with Disney again after this. But he, detailing his first opportunity directing, it seems kind of crazy. It seems like something you wouldn't want to work on, like with Disney, and be like, I don't want to do this again. It seems stressful to have to direct a Disney animation, and possibly not rewarding depending on how your movie's received. It really makes you, watching a documentary like this and watching the people sort of explain to you all of the crap they had to go through just to get the film to screen, gives you even more perspective when somebody just slaps it with the critical response. And it's like, man, they had to put up with a lot of shit. They were moved around and defunded, and they had to fight for. One time, Jeffrey Katzenberg was thinking that Goofy shouldn't talk like Goofy. He should just talk like a regular guy. What? We should get Steve Martin to voice Goofy. What? What on earth are you talking about? So it really makes you question Jeffrey Katzenberg as like a studio head. Like some of the things, it's just like, wouldn't it have been great if Steve Martin was the voice of Goofy? No, that would be an atrocious idea. That is one of the dumbest ideas I've heard in a long time. Yes, of course, Bill Farmer voiced Goofy, and he's all over this movie. Him and Jason Marsden are all over this and are interviewed quite a bit for this, which is great. And yeah, this is it's a blast. Unfortunately, like, he's around. They could have, like, they mentioned some of the other voices that they have, like Wallace Shawn and Pauly Shore. I kind of wanted to hear Pauly, do the cheddar, do it, do it one more time. I could tell he wasn't interviewed for this. Like, they didn't bother to bring Pauly in. So the voice actors that they focus on were just kind of like Max and Goofy and a little bit of Pete. Pete was in there for a little bit. And I think the actor who did PJ, they got him a little bit for like 2 seconds. So, but mostly Bill Farmer and Jason Marsden. So, I thought this was a really interesting exploration of a Goofy movie. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the time that it took to really sit down and talk about the movie. Sometimes we get retrospectives and they feel very self-serving and very like, well, this thing was great. It was always going to be great. It is great, and that's we're all here to talk about the greatness of the greatest thing that ever was and ever will be, and it was from the beginning. We knew it was. We always knew it was going to be great. This is more like, I don't know, man. We we barely got this there, and then people didn't like it, and our hearts were shattered, and then suddenly fans happened out of nowhere. So it's a little bit less of a pat on the back and more of a uh, you know, it's more of an actual like story arc and progression for a documentary of, well, we had a dream and it wasn't fully realized every day of our lives, but luckily we stuck it out, and it turns out 30 years later people love a Goofy movie. And I like the documentary about it. I think it's great. Obviously it's making me rewatch a Goofy movie, but I was probably gonna do that anyway, watch movies on anniversary years, and it's on an anniversary year. So yeah, Not Just a Goof is available now on Disney Plus. It just doesn't have audio description, so uh, watch at your own peril. Blind users, blind and low vision users. It doesn't have audio description, so it just depends on how much you want to know the story behind a Goofy movie. Like, if you're a huge fan of a Goofy movie, then watch this, I guess. But otherwise, if you're just casually a fan, or you saw it once and you're not super interested, and you're going to struggle a little bit with like who's talking when, what footage is being shown, a couple of things that they just don't, that are missing when you don't have audio description. It still is a documentary with a lot of people talking, so there's not going to be an effusive amount of audio description, even when there is audio description, uh, if it ever gains it. But yeah, so that's my thought on Not Just a Goof. Uh, I will go ahead and grade this because this is one of those, this is kind of an easy thing for me. I've been struggling a lot with like, how would I grade a film without audio description? For me, uh, there's nothing that audio description could bring to this that would cause this to fall in a way where I would rate it rotten. I thought it did a nice job. I did kind of want a little bit more in terms of, I don't know why. I mean, I guess I can't fault the movie because I don't know whether or not some of these people said yes or no. Like, I don't know if Pauly Shore just refused to come back because he's grown up and he doesn't want to do like the old shtick from back in the day that made him famous. But it's like, man, if that was kind of why you, and we're here celebrating the 30th anniversary, is he gonna avoid the anniversary of like all of his movies? Like, does he just not want to be popular anymore? um, I don't know. Some people lean into it, and that's why they do Comic-Con stuff all the time. Is it's like, yeah, they were famous for this thing that happened a long time ago, and I mean, it's better to be remembered for something that everybody likes than to just, I don't know, fade away. And I guess that's the galaxy question of it all, right? Sort of like Alan Rickman's character, who gets frustrated because he's not doing serious work. Instead, he's stuck in this hell of being remembered for Galaxy Quest. But Pauly Shore was never a serious actor. He was an MTV VJ and sometime stand-up comedian. So he's not missing out on Shakespeare. So I don't know. I don't know what the argument would be for him to want to distance himself from coming back and talking about reflecting on a Goofy movie. But yeah, I'm gonna give Not Just a Goof an A-. I thought it was a good movie. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.